You're listening to Raiding the Fringe with Poda, Ostinius, Nepids, and Dr. Lee. From ancient civilizations to the cutting edge of science, from exploring the outer reaches of space to the Atlantean depths, we discuss the topics of the unknown and the possibilities of the bizarre. Are you hungry to expand your horizons? Come get your fill as we raid the fringe. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Raiding the Fringe. Here, as always, is Ostinius.
Hello.
Nep.
How's it going?
Dr. Lee.
Yo.
And I'm Poda. Today we're going to talk about Hollow Earth, a huge discussion that has gone on for many a year, whether it exists or not. You know, the basement of the world, basically. Who lives down there? Anyone want to kick it off with something to say?
So does this relate to stories like with H.G. Wells' Journey to the Center of the Earth and things like that, where there's not just caverns and things inside the Earth with no core, but talking about like subterranean peoples?
Yes.
Yeah, I would totally say so. I mean, with the Murlocs and stuff, yeah, I totally think that's way open for debate. Some people even include, dinosaurs in some subterranean journey to the center of the earth kind of stuff,
That's why all their bones are underground. Oh, of course.
It makes perfect sense now.
They just die in lava tubes.
Well, there is that one guy, that Richard Byrd guy, that said that he was flying over the South Pole and said that he flew right into the center of the Earth and stuff like that. So there's actually a real live person that said he did that. And there was vast caverns and things there.
How did he fly into this place?
Well, you just aim down.
With an airplane?
You just aim down and keep going.
It's called an airplane, not a ground plane.
Admiral Byrd in the Hollow Earth. The Great Web of Percy Harrison Fawcett. I can't read American English. Fawcett. Yeah. F-A-W-C-E-T-T.
Faucet, yeah.
Fawcett.
Faucet.
Fawcett.
Like where your water comes out.
On the 19th of September, 1947, an American explorer, Richard Byrd, flew to the South Pole. It was said that he came back and reported what happened to his plane, I guess. I don't know. That's too small to read. But yeah, there was actually a person who said that they flew and saw that there was a vast caverns under the earth.
Now, what round about what year? What was this? Did you say
1947? That was around the time that airplanes were really getting to the point where they could really push where they were going.
But you're also talking about...
You're really pushing it going underground.
Yeah, times of fantastical imagination. I mean, this is around the same time that you have H.P. Lovecraft writing Cthulhu novels and things of that nature.
I mean, in 1947, we also just, got out of
War of the Worlds.
World War II, so, I mean...
Well, exactly. Expanses of the imagination.
Even without a complete fancifulizing way... whatever word that is. I just fancifulized that word. Even taking into account the fanciful nature of the whimsies of old minds, he could have flown into some caves, and they might have been huge, and he's like, yep, made it to the center of the earth. Did you go 7,000 miles?
It seemed
no.
like it.
I've always thought that specific event was referred to more of a giant explosion from a volcano that is now dormant, because the descriptions of what he saw... That's what it sounded like. Just the big hole into a mountain.
I guess he said that, he wrote a book called The Mysterious Land Beyond the Poles, The True Origin of Flying Saucers. So, definitely, could see your point of, a fantasy writing.
Is this
to get famous? But.
Is that supposed to be another scientific endeavor of his, or is he actually saying aliens came from the Hollow Earth?
The dude's
like we talked about in that other episode.
Well, some people do claim that aliens have come from the Hollow Earth. They've been here. Ancient alien theorists and stuff like that. They've been laying dormant beneath the crust and have built themselves a home in the Hollow Earth.
He says he met another civilization in this area that he'd flown to. I'm getting this information by just reading it, out loud, just like when you guys talk, reading a little bit more. But he's an admiral, so obviously, today, if you had an admiral say something, they would have a lot of credibility. You know what I'm saying? Because
they carry some clout.
Yeah. So this guy is an admiral, at least at that time period. And an admiral's hard to get to.
Well, especially in that time period, those 30s and 40s men were stalwart. This is my opinion, and You can eat a hair if you think I'm lying. You know what I mean? Like,
He did say that his airplane was met with flying machines that took him down to a safe landing where emissaries of... Oh, my God. You do it. I can't read.
well, according to Admiral Byrd, his airplane was greeted by flying machines of a type he had never seen before. They escorted him to a safe landing area where emissaries from Agartha, or as otherwise we call it, Ibez, graciously greeted him. After resting, he and his crew were taken to meet the king and queen of Agartha, Ibez. They told him that he had been allowed to enter Agartha, Ibez, because of his high moral and ethical character. Well, then he can't be lying for sure.
Obviously.
Wait a minute.
No, he can't be lying.
Well, then how many people have been there before that they thought didn't meet those standards?
On the front of his plane,
They
it
would
says,
shoot
"Trust
him.
me, I'm honest."
Well, it does say he was greeted by flying machines, so obviously they had to be equipped with some type of weapons to keep it defended. So if they were not of that type, they would have been dead.
Wait. So they made radio contact, and they were like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm a guy in a plane." Yeah, that's right. He's honest. All right, let him in.
I am
Wait a
a
minute.
colonel or an admiral of the most high moral standing.
How did they find out that he had moral standing
Yeah, it's like-
if it was being brought down with a plane?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Unless they already had pre-knowledge of surface. He was an admiral. He was high in military ranking. They could be in cahoots with the military.
But then that would bring in the psychological stance of morality for the surface dwellers
As opposed
next to what theirs could be underground.
yeah.
Well, that is at least one guy that said that there does like this something exist.
All right, I would have to say on your argument, Poda, that in this situation, the moral compass would probably point to the same direction for both civilizations, since obviously they already spoke English.
Yeah.
That is true. That's very impressive.
They were very parallel with us, and assuming that they had already known this fellow before he flew in, so that way they could know that he was of high standards. They have surveillance. They are aware of our side of.
Well, apparently they already had flying machines. If they can intercept his aircraft, then they had to have done some sort of reconnaissance.
You know what it really was? 50 years from now, when they invent time travel and the Air Force has to place a base back in the past underneath ground.
I'm
so
the
that way no
king
one
of
sees them.
Agartha. You are a gentleman, I can tell you. Shake your hand.
See, they don't have surveillance. What they are us from the future, and it's a bit of subterfuge because one guy found their base, and they're like, I know just the story to tell him. and they've already got all the history, so they knew who this guy was because he was the admiral of the time in the area.
Oh, yeah, telling the kooky tale.
He was also the first Secretary of Defense for America.
Admiral Byrd.
Well, that is a man of respectable moral standing.
And one of the original founding members of the Majestic 12, a group that was created by military to oversee all alien-related
Yeah, because he came back with his crazy story.
alien-related information, basically
The original.
in control of the mechanism to make sure that it came out and got filtered through them.
I'm going to tell you, I have no question about this guy's moral standing or ethics.
I doubted everything until now.
So we,
Yeah, it's clear. My
we-
conscience is clear.
so we just learned that the Men in Black does exist, and he's part of the original group that started it.
Not Men in Black. 'Cause
Majestic 12.
The Majestic 12 are too militaristic. I would say it's more like a Stargate kind of thing.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I think that if the government's like, we don't know what this is alien origin, the Majestic 12 or that group is the one that justifies if it is or not, or it continues as a threat. It's like if a regular police department finds a murder and then the FBI comes up and is like, that's ours now, kind of thing. So yeah, kind of like, I guess the Men in Black for the government.
Unless, of course, they are structured like the Men in Black, and they are where the Men in Black story came from.
Yeah, that's probably it. Like, but that's crazy to think that he was our first Secretary of Defense, and his main thing was weeding out UFOs and aliens.
Well, you got to make sure that you don't have anyone above you or below you wanting to attack the ground level you. So he's like, okay, now I got that weeded out.
So yes,
Let's take care of this.
he made
I'm your
pacts
guy.
with people above and below, and he was loved on the land that he lived, and then now he was loved by people that lived under the land and loved above the people from the heavens.
He should clearly be an American hero then.
I mean, he was definitely an American something.
And from that point on, the middle finger was known as flipping the bird.
But
You don't believe me, huh? I'll show you this.
This is my highest finger of great moral standing.
It is the tallest upon my hand.
again, this is just a guy that said that there is a hollow Earth. So, I mean, what would be in a hollow Earth? You guys think like?
Yeah, moving forward from just this guy.
Yeah, this guy, because then we could just name it, the Bird Hour.
Well, I mean, even if you're going with H.P. Lovecraft and stuff like that, I mean, granted, he said they came from the depths of the seas, like the Mariana Trench and stuff like that, but it's still old creatures that have been here that resurfaced,
And that's where I would start on the theory if hollow Earth does exist, how? Like, how are these organisms being sustained? Is like the theories where there's another sun down there, or is it an energy source?
Like the core of the Earth.
How could it perpetuate and last?
Well, if you think about it, like the Mariana Trench, for example, the fish down there don't see daylight, and they live. They don't need it. They've got, so if we're talking about a subterranean world, probably there is some sort of port or gate to the trench. That would be an obvious way to get in and out of the core anyway.
Now we're talking about Disney's Atlantis.
all the creatures, I think, underneath there will have light generating capabilities.
Bioluminescence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're going on that road where there's no actual light down there, so they wouldn't have eyes. It would have really good hearing.
Wow.
Some might have eyes. They might
They would be able to interpret what light is, but what light is to them is not what we know as light. It would be not natural light like from the sun, but bioluminescence, which to a degree, the lumens coming off of it would be much, much lower, because in that sort of sensitive situation, a little bit of light to anything that could pick up light would be insane in a world of black darkness.
Yeah, and our lights would blind them.
Yeah.
I like the theory of that, it has its own sun. They also say, a lot of reports and people talk about how they have their own light source or their own sun, miniature sun, to create life under the earth. And so what happens, we can't dig that far into the earth, so how about we just, as far as we dig, that's where their sun is at.
Like the core of the earth, as it were, the molten ball.
Not even that. I'm
would
just saying,
be their sun.
No, I would say that since if it's hollow earth, you have to go down, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say if we're digging down ourselves, we get to a certain point, it's their sun instead of the magma or the other things like that. It's actually their sun that us digging down to. So we'll never be able to dig down to the hollow earth. We have to find natural openings to the hollow earth. Because if we start digging to get to the hollow earth, we run into their sun.
But that would mean their sun is all around them, like 360 degrees.
Or it could be just...
Well,
I was just thinking
because there's only so
idea.
far you could dig down before you're digging up.
Well, if it's in the dead center and it's its own star, and the way gravity sets up, they'd be walking on all the walls, right?
Yeah.
So the sun would always be above them, but their feet would always be facing our feet no matter where they are on the earth.
Oh, so to them, digging down is
Thanks,
digging
Poda, for
out.
saving me.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's even... Think solar system inside the Earth. The core is the sun, and there are smaller planets within the surface of the Earth.
That's a lot of space.
And any caves leave light holes, so they look like the stars.
So then you can only dig halfway through the Earth's crust before, like for us digging down, before we're digging up into their world, and vice versa.
I'm thinking more like we can't dig far enough to break through, but if we did, we'd be sitting amongst the stars.
How about this?
We would be the
Looking
aliens.
down on this high density thing with these little orbit planets and tiny people.
What if...
Oh, you mean a literal, in the center is a tiny little solar system.
What if all that magma and stuff is just a defense system that the people were advanced, they've been here longer, they put up, that we can't dig down?
And they worry about depleting their magma zone.
Okay, but so
I'm just saying...
how does this affect and
or
negate flat Earth?
Because for something to be hollow, you can't be flat and hollow?
Well, it could be if it was a cylinder. You got the flat circle, but it's got thickness to it. So what if it had, like a sandwich cookie?
when people say flat Earth, I don't think of a cylinder.
I don't either. When I think of a flat Earth, I think of Christopher Columbus, who actually didn't believe the world was flat anyway. That part was mythical. But still, I mean...
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess you could say that it would be a cylinder. I mean, if we're going on the idea of we should never, discourage any kind of idea that we could talk further about.
Right.
Like, improv rules don't say no. So,
That's all
yeah,
it
I
is.
guess it could be. But then that's a lot of rock. Like, I mean, that would mean that, like, that cylinder, like, for it to
Nobody's
have
ever dug that deep.
people or... Yeah, but they sent probes.
Oh, okay. How about this one? Dante's Inferno. There are so many
7
levels
layers.
of hell.
Yeah.
Each one is a layer in this layer cake of flat Earth, hollow Earth, and there are just different levels of existence within it. As you could like take an escalator down the floors.
Yeah, that would definitely work in your cylinder.
In the cylinder theory, yeah, absolutely. So
I guess it would work in any kind of emptiness, but then if that was the case, then is the hollow Earth people are just lying to themselves and saying this is nice down here, but in all reality they're living in like different layers of hell?
I mean, that's segregation, really. Wait, no, that's not what
I don't know.
well, to them it wouldn't be hell. To them it would just be life.
Natural segregation.
Yeah, they all
Well, it's
agree.
like demons who are born and live of hell or whatever. To them, hey, this is just life. So to them, coming up to the surface is like, woo, this is Adventureland.
Oh,
Well, yeah, they don't like to go back. To
you mean the
Yeah, exactly.
not allegory, but basically the people that were in darkness did not know anything of light because they knew no other world. They knew nothing else.
Yeah, when darkness is your everyday, that's just it.
Diogenes?
Maybe I can't remember.
I
Well, it wasn't hydrogenes.
I don't know. Let's. How about the things that came out that people say came out of the Earth? You have like the reptilians. You have the ant people. You have
Mole
men.
people, yeah.
you have random creatures that people said came out of the hollow Earth that would definitely suggest that there would be something down there for people to live in.
Grabby.
Or even the humans that really dug down into the Earth, like the people from in India, where or even other in
Well, there are
Iraq.
people
or Iran.
in Canada
Well,
who've
no.
been drilling through plates of the earth for...
I'm talking about people that like lasted
years.
like in ancient times where they shouldn't have the ability to make these things, but they're giant, almost like bunkers that have air vents and everything, so that things flying across couldn't see. So that even people were learning from things to dig under Earth.
Well, then, even thinking of trying to sustain life and stuff, totally capable within a cave system. There's moisture, fungus, there are things, lichens that people can live off of. Fresh water sources that are filtered through, the carbon of the earth.
If we needed to, if we had some sort of holocaust that all of us needed to go underground to survive, we could.
Yeah.
But okay, so what about reptilians? They said they came out from under the earth.
Would you believe that those were like the Morlocks that have been here for centuries and just have been under the ground, or were they aliens initially?
Draconians.
I think more
Draconian?
Slee stacks than Morlock.
Slee stacks?
Yeah, which are effectively reptilians. Cold-blooded, the warmth of the inner of the
Let's
earth.
think of like a natural evolution or something like that. So you're saying like, primordially the fish that grew legs and, through evolution went one way. In that line, there are reptiles. Some of them became birds and stuff like that. So maybe some reptiles went more underground and became a burial thing and progressed in a humanoid nature to become reptilian.
No, I do not agree with that. But that's just me.
With that theory.
So then where would these reptiles have come from?
Well, you were asking Poda a question. I just thought I'd throw out there that I don't believe.
Well, that is the theory proposed by the Mario Brothers documentary.
yeah.
And
Filmed in real time.
Documentary.
Filmed in real time.
And the only question I have to that theory is why, when it's subterranean evolutionary for adaptation and survival, would they go the bipedal route? I would think it would be more beneficial to have a different body setup if you're living subterranean.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Just because we're set up to do long distance running to catch our meals, like we sweat, so we have the ability to endurance run. other things don't.
Well,
that's how we.
Yeah,
That's how we.
Also, our
hunt it.
temperature regulation, because we are surface dwellers and we have to deal with things like heat and cold.
Yeah, so I don't think there'd be bipedal people down there.
I would favor more of an arachnid kind of.
I was thinking the same
Because
thing.
if you were going to maneuver all the caves and stuff, extra arms and flexibility would really help.
Or, wormish. Like a slender, snaky kind of... A snaky snag.
Well,
Ooh, centipedes.
there is no denial
Yeah.
that having appendages is an advantage over not. Mm-hmm. Even looking at snakes and worms, and yes, they've survived, but anything with arms and legs generally have advantage. And if we were going over the route of gaining opposable thumbs, as far as the surface goes, most of that's to allow us to climb trees and to grab things that are shaped that an opposable thumb would help grab. And underground, I don't see that becoming enough of an issue that would even happen.
Well, if you look at moles and badgers, like creatures that do dig, their claws are...
Scoops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to creature size of inhabitants in a hollow earth theory, I've always found it difficult to understand how you could have these massively sized creatures, such as the dinosaurs that still exist, with the oxygen level being the way it was. Would they have a different set of lungs? Would the composites be different? Or is there a combination of hot springs mixed with volcanic atmosphere to encase some kind of cloud coverage?
Well, I think
You
we
could
still
have
had...
underground photosynthesis going on, only
Yeah.
instead of using light, it can use nitrates or something.
And then also, like, what about all the water and the filtration through the rocks and stuff? Could there be like a way that nature has found a way to produce oxygen through some type of filtration system that we don't know about because we haven't dug further enough?
I mean, it's possible.
And that's how much. I mean, what I believe is, again, biblically, but that's where all the water was stored originally. If you believe, the Bible, that because when it says that He created the rain to come to flood the earth, they also said that there was giant like pylons of water just straight rushing up out of the earth. So a lot of the water,
Like geysers.
yeah, geezers, as the UK people would say, but yeah. So if that's the origin of water, why couldn't there already be a way for things to live under there like that?
It's true. If it's the origin of water, why not the origin of life?
And in all honesty, if all that water came up to the surface, because that's what happened, there's all that space that water inhabited that's no longer inhabited anymore. So I guess technically we could have a lot of caverns. Well, there already are a lot of caverns, but one to sustain things we don't even know.
Oh, because the water tower that is Earth is empty now?
Well, that's where you get into those movies where it's like
Well,
30 yards deep or something like that. Like where they
Meters.
These college kids, fueled by sex and drugs, took their scuba tea at 30.
Well, no, what I'm saying is,
and they get in the cavern and they get eaten by monsters.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, there are caverns, though, but if I believe that's where all the water was originally, and then after the flood, there was definitely an absence of water where it was at. That water had to have been stored somewhere, so there has to be caverns and stuff down there. If it was enough to flood the whole Earth, how many caverns are there?
Well, if the water came out that way, gravity does pull down, why wouldn't it fill back up?
Yeah.
Well, we've got the cycle of, it evaporates, so it becomes clouds. So we've got water up and water down.
Yeah. Another thing, too.
Oh, so at this point, the constant level would be lower.
I have a question, kind of asking, because this has not been brought up. So if the pressure is so rough down in the Marianas Trench, there would have to be places in this hollow earth that you could not go. So in hollow earth, there has to be only places like that because you can't go deep enough.
No, the pressure comes from the weight of the water surrounding the object that's in the trench, because you're so many miles down.
I thought
that's
pressure
so many
was
pounds
also
of water
in a hole
coming
digging.
down on you.
You see, whereas that's true, the water pressure makes it way worse. You do still have the air pressure factor. I mean, people living in Colorado know that the atmosphere is thinner. They have to adjust their cooking times. And everything.
True enough.
So if you went down into the center of the Earth, assuming the Earth is as big as some current scientists say it is, and we go into this hollow Earth, there will be a lot of pressure, and most of us probably couldn't handle it. I mean, I wouldn't say it would crush our skulls or anything, but we'd definitely be uncomfortable.
Well, you could adapt depending on how slow your descent was, but then if you came up too fast, you would still get the bends.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be like going into an
Yeah,
airplane
an altitude
and having to
sickness,
pop
yeah.
your ears for air pressure.
Given the absence of water coming to the surface, creating big areas of space, and then going back down. So the hollow earth theory, if you were to propose it theoretically to make sense, is not a hollow earth. It's technically an ocean underneath our ocean for all those creatures to thrive.
That doesn't discount it being hollow. Hollow meaning there's space underneath the surface.
Okay.
So it's just...
So
Because
what-
I thought hollow went against what our core of our planet is.
Yeah,
specifically.
because we have things there. There is mantle that is technically just molten rock. There's, I don't know what else. Is
Are we
there?
talking different levels, or are we talking like a gumball? When you bite a gumball,
No,
the inside is like hollow.
I have a question. Is it molten nickel that's in the center?
Yes?
I didn't know if it was a solid or not because
No, we
No,
have a
it's
liquid
molten.
core.
Yeah.
a liquid core. Okay, well then yeah.
Like going off of the hollow earth idea, going for this the current scientific...
Yeah, the actual what it is.
Our core is liquid.
That was a real question.
All right. Well, then, next question. Of a subterranean civilization, what's to stop them from wanting to take over? Are there zealots? Are there rebels? Is there a secret communications contract with the world governments that everyone's aware of everybody, and that's where we're getting some mineral rights?
I don't know if Admiral Byrd's flying planes around and he becomes Secretary of Defense with alien relations, then at this point, yeah, it would have been an accepted and known about kind of thing that has just kind of been pulled back from the public eye since the 40s or whatever.
I would say if that was the case, then one of two things. One, they found it uncomfortable up here, and so they don't choose to come up here other than the communications that exist. Or two, if they are so comfortable that they could come up here and consider dominating and stuff, I think infiltration would have been a lot easier, and they could be half of us among us now.
I still think that if they are living down there, they'd rather be down there. It could be better down there. You know what I mean? If there was a subterranean race down there.
Yeah, no skin cancer.
Yeah, like I mean that, and like maybe the smartest people that did find went down and was like they found the way to live, and they're like, why would we ever want to go back to the bad times? You know what I mean? Like let them suffer and die up there while we live paradise down here.
Yeah, let the people upstairs fight it out, and then they're all dead, and
Not even to even get back up. I don't even think their goal is to get back on top of the surface. They've already made their home down there. Why would you move?
Well, if we're also talking non-bipedal, creatures and things of that nature, who's to say that they would even form a society? Would they form a society, or would they be independent creatures because, survival of the fittest, they're all fighting to get their own batch of fungus or...
That would be if they're a hive mind or not, basically. Like...
I support independent over hive mind.
No, we
Group
do not
mentalities.
have anything like Starship Troopers under our...
Who's to say there's only one? Then perhaps there is like
different breeds,
different intellectual. Like on the surface here, we pretty much said humans and then animals, but dolphins are already close enough. They have a language and a society. They're not on our level necessarily, but say underground it is more balanced, and they have a hive mind society, and they have an individual society, and they have beasts.
Which is why Admiral Byrd found the kingdom of Agartha, and it wasn't, maybe there's many kingdoms if that's just one.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, if you did say kingdom, then there
Yeah.
has to be more, or that would just be the land of But
We're
what I was saying
constantly at war
you-
with the ant people.
What I was saying
Yeah.
about what you said, so are you kind of going off the idea of like the time machine or the new time machine where they have the smart Morlocks versus the ones that go out and hunt, the ones that save
The brain bugs versus...
Well, no, I mean, like, you remember
No,
he's
yeah,
that one
yeah.
guy that's like, I have been running this for ages. I don't remember. He looked like a Sith Lord or something.
Yeah.
But
So like that kind of like levels of these people are the ones kind of like that run things.
At least saying that
even
there's
thinking
a
differently.
diversity of
I'm
them.
thinking like elves versus dwarves kind of thing, where neither one of them's necessarily smarter or stronger than the other, but they both have intelligence and both have different ways of life.
And with at least two main differences, there wouldn't be a dynasty, so you wouldn't have enough, I would think, power to
What if
even
it is
attempt to
dwarves?
take over the surface.
What?
What if it is dwarves? We have lore about dwarves.
Oh.
They
Oh,
live
well, like
under
Duar?
the
Fire
ground.
Mountain.
And trolls.
Trolls live under bridges.
Not all of them.
Bridges- Okay.
There are cave trolls.
And then maybe
Yeah, but cave trolls come out.
Trandoshans or Draconians or whatever you want to call the lizard people would be their own sept.
Yeah.
So all of these different underground races could
So what
all
did he
exist.
do? Did he pick the ground elves? That was what it sounded like because that was a crap.
That,
What was
the
their
way he
name?
described it is what it sounded
Yeah,
like.
it's like they have flying machines and they brought me down and they offered me food and
they
water.
offered me pads.
That could be the name of their food.
Peach.
I heard Pez.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what they call their food. You know what I mean? So, do I personally believe that the Earth is hollow? No. I'm going to say that right now. I don't. I believe that.
I don't either. It's fun to
I
speculate.
believe that it's exactly what the scientists are telling us, just because they don't really have a way to know any different other than the test that they did.
Well, and I also believe in a grand gyroscopic kind of idea. I mean, physics-wise, the way gravity works, we've got the spin of the Earth, we've got the atmosphere, and then there has to be something like a molten core on the inside, kind of counterbalancing, to make our magnetic fields, to keep us grounded.
Not only that, but because of our travel path through space, they have been able to determine the mass of the different bodies. And in order for our mass to be consistent with the readings that they have determined, it would have to be a liquid core.
Yeah.
And with the large volumes of numbers we're dealing with, you can get very detailed results, and you can know generally the entire elemental composition of the cores of different planets and the sun and everything.
So we're even learning more and more as we go. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And the technology is getting better. So.
And now we have exoplanets that we can compare our planet to, and we're getting so much more information, even with the development of the camera and how we can do, gigapixels and terapixel photos. It's allowing us to get, reach further and further in space to get answers for things that are similar to us. We're seeing more and more of what exists, so we can understand ourselves better, and it's giving us a more solid understanding of what really is in the center of the Earth.
Not to go off topic too much, have you seen, since you seem like you know a lot about, or learn a lot about interstellar stuff like that, have you seen the new star that they found that is more of like a teardrop?
No.
Oh, dude, its actual shape is a teardrop almost. I forget what it's called, but I saw it on a science page off of Facebook, and they're really accurate in what they talk about, and it's a new discovery. Made by a college somewhere in America. I don't have the exact, but yeah, it's not the normal roundish shape. It's actually kind of teardrop shape.
Wow.
So yeah, we're even finding with all that technology, we're finding now that different bodies don't just have round shapes. We're getting close enough and better enough to see that they actually have tons of different shapes. It's kind of like how the
you're
Earth
talking
is
like
kind of
spiral
oblong.
galaxies. There's that. There's egg shape.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like planets, you just look through a lens, they would just be round. You know what I mean? So now that we have that ability, and so I guess it's one of those things, just how say that the Earth isn't flat, and we know that the Earth isn't hollow. They would the more and more information we have, the more and more we can actually prove this further back in time.
But the speculation of it is interesting.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
But there's people out there that believe this stuff. You know what I mean?
My thing, what would be the end game? Why would you stay secret so long? I mean, even if you did reveal yourself to one or two admirals or some such, there would have to have been some surgeons or something to alert the mass populace. I mean,
To keep peace, man. They don't want people to bother them. Go back the way you came.
average Joe McGillicuddy on an Indiana farm isn't gonna. I'm gonna start digging in my backyard to get these fuckers. That's. I mean, you need resources and stuff like that. And if the world,
Well,
militias.
okay, but if you
gonna,
have the resources to get to them, then you're obviously a powerful
But again,
foe.
what's the point?
A dude built a rocket to prove flat Earth. Who's to say there aren't going to be people trying to build bigger drills?
I would
just
use
to get
all
in there?
past tense for that. Rest in peace.
Oh, that's true.
All right, given the many theories of Hollow Earth and the different types of Hollow Earth that could exist or, could
What do you
exist,
think, Poda, about Hollow Earth? Instead of asking questions.
which one would you want to visit? The ones that have, it's the giant cavern with its own sun and giant lake and has prehistoric creatures. The one that is reptilians. One that is just a mass of different types of underground creatures. Would you want to visit one that actually has some kind of civilization, or would you rather go down and see how long you could survive?
If I were to visit any of them, I'd want to go to, okay, just to put it in these odd terms, the elvish society where it's bioluminescent mushrooms and it's this beautiful...
Underground Avatar?
Underground Avatar. I would visit that one or something. But ultimately, my thing is like, what's the purpose? Like, what's the end game? Like, even if we found out that there were subterranean creatures, why would we automatically try to kill them? Like, what's the point? If they're staying down there and we're staying up here, then
honestly, I probably wouldn't even visit them. I might want to learn about them, but
that's my thing. If I were to visit one, I'd want to go in the cave system, see the underground Avatar. Awesome. But at the end of the day, what the fuck is the goal? Like, who gives a shit?
It's like going to Disneyland. It's an adventure.
I don't want to go to Disneyland.
Which one would you want to go to, Poda?
I think the dinosaur one would be cool, but at the same time, that would mean giant bugs. And that'd be way more difficult to survive than dinosaurs, I think.
You'd have a harder time surviving the bugs?
Well, because they're the vast number and the size. Like, I'm really happy the size of insects the way they are right now, because if they got bigger or potentially kept growing, like if our oxygen level really increased and about the greenhouse effect, that's how it was back in the allegedly back in the day, for bugs to adapt and change to grow bigger.
Yeah, okay, but think about it this way. In current times, bugs being as small as they are, you can have 50,000 bugs around you at any given point and not even notice them. If they were bigger, they're going to be fewer in number, but at least you see them coming. And if you got like a cudgel, you can protect yourself.
I am also happy with the size that lizards are now, too.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But you're also automatically putting that extra theory into your theory. You just told us what you would not like. So you could go to this dinosaur world that doesn't have giant insects. You put those insects there.
Well, how could
nobody else is thinking insects.
How could that one of dinosaurs exist without a sustainable ecosystem of some kind that insects would be involved in? It couldn't just be lizards and plants.
No, there could be insects, but they could be regular size. There could be lots of swarms of them. The dinosaurs could eat them and keep their population under control.
Like whales and bright
krill,
shrimp.
yeah.
Yeah. Whale buddies.
Whale buddies!
The largest animal ever on the planet eats
The
small
smallest.
bug-like
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, so the insects wouldn't have to get huge.
Yeah, bottom line, I wouldn't go, though, because I'm claustrophobic.
I just what?
You are a big man.
Yeah.
I'm squeezing through all these caves. This sucks.
Poda goes to Hollow Earth, his feet stick out.
Yeah,
That sounds like a movie.
Cave-
Like Frankie goes to Hollywood, Poda goes to Hollow Earth.
Any closing statements?
No.
Final thoughts?
It's fun to speculate, but that shit ain't real.
Preach it. Preach it.
Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, everybody. Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you all for joining us today on another episode of Raiding the Fringe. If you have any comments or ideas on today's topic, you can leave a comment or contact us directly at raidingthefringe@brainforger.com. We also would ask you to like, subscribe, and follow us. You can find us on Facebook, Spotify, Libsyn, or wherever you get your podcast. Once again, thank you for joining us as we raid the Fringe.